Hey friends, welcome to a new episode of Dooley Does Food. I'm your host, Dooley Noted, and I'm not even gonna hold you. This video should have came out 10 days ago. Your girl was busy, your girl was sick. So y'all know where to find me. If not, you can find it here. And we gonna just jump in. Alright, so we're about to get into a quick and easy set it and forget it version of corned beef. For corned beef, we use a cut of meat known as brisket. You can see where that comes from here on the chart, but it comes from the lower breast or pectoral muscles of a cow. So if you think about a human, pectorals are usually real muscular. It's a sign that you've been lifting. That's why we have to go low and slow with this recipe, because it takes a little bit of time to break down that connective tissue, to break down the proteins, and to make this really tough piece of meat delicious and juicy. For this recipe, I bought this particular brand here. My brisket is approximately 3 pounds, so just keep in mind that depending on how large your cut of meat is, the time and the amount of seasonings that you need for this recipe will differ. Now, I know that I mentioned that this is a set it and forget it recipe. That is true. Nevertheless, I do think 100%, if you can, that you should start this recipe a bit earlier so that you can brine this meat. The additional time that you take adds so much more flavor, so many notes, so much more depth to this meat, and I promise you, like, it sets this recipe off the chain. If you have time, take your brisket, put it in a gallon Ziploc bag, and then top that bag off with 3 to 4 cups of warm water, 1.5 cups of salt, 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, a half cup of EVOO, extra virgin olive oil. Cut a lemon in half, put in the lemon juice, squeeze it out, and then drop that piece of lemon in the bag. And then you'll add any additional herbs that you like to season your meat with. Seal it, put it in your fridge. If you have the time, you can do it overnight. At minimum, keep it in there about 2 to 3 hours. All right, so first up, we need to make our spice blend. These are all the spices that I use to season this dish. I used 1 tablespoon of ground mustard. If you have spicy mustard, use it. 1 tablespoon of black pepper, slap your mama, and garam masala seasoning. A half a tablespoon of smoked paprika. 1 teaspoon of poultry seasoning, herb de Provence, red pepper, ginger, and celery salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cardamom and cumin, and then 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Additionally, you'll drop in 1 or 2, depending on your palate, sticks of whole cinnamon. Next, we need to get our mise en place done and break down all of our vegetables. I broke down 3 regular carrots, just cut them into small medallions, 1.5 small onions. You can give them a proper julienne, or you can just cut them into small ribbons. I took a pound of potatoes and quartered them. I highly suggest using red potatoes. They really just kind of go with the recipe. And then finally, smash and dice 3 cloves of garlic. Set all of your materials aside and then break out your crock pot. I haven't used this crock pot in forever, but yeah, this is a crock pot recipe, y'all. Break it out, clean it out, plug it up, and then you have an option here. We can either set our crock pot on low and cook this meat over the course of 8 hours, or we can put it on high and cook it for approximately 4.5. Now, I highly suggest taking the time, going low and slow, but I understand y'all might be hungry and you just want to get it over, so your choice. Now that we got all of our materials ready, we can go ahead and start to build this up. Turn your crock pot on whatever heat that you selected, and then we're going to start by adding in our onions. Go ahead and just throw them in there. Throw in your garlic too. And then cover it with 1 cup of water and 2 cups of chicken stock or broth. Add in your brisket. Make sure that you put it fatty side face down. You want it closer to the heating element so that it helps render or break down that fat. Then cover with your spice blend. Just go ahead and just toss it in there. Chances are your meat also came with this cute little packet here. That's just additional seasonings that are just usually used for corned beef. You can take it or leave it. I think it's always beneficial. Just go ahead and throw it in there, or you can just take full control and leave it out. Finally, finish it with your carrots and your potatoes. Just add it to your crock pot. Just make sure things are evenly distributed. And then we're going to go ahead and add in a bit more chicken stock or broth. Once again, it doesn't matter which one you use, but you're gonna add enough to just cover the remainder of the vegetables. We don't want it swimming, but we do want it covered. Keep that in mind. Fasten the top of your crock pot and then go on with your day. Now, some of y'all are probably thinking, hey, what about the cabbage? Now, I like corned beef and cabbage, but I'll leave this optional up to you. Now remember, we need to cook our meat on low for 8 hours or high at 5 hours. If you do want cabbage, you add it in during the last hour and a half of cook time. For my recipe, I used just under a pound of red cabbage. You can use green cabbage if you prefer. Break them down into small, bite-sized shreds. When it's time, just go ahead and take off the lid of your crock pot. Oh, look at that steam. That's nice. Give it a little stir just to make sure everything is distributed. And then you'll slowly add in your cabbage. Put your lid back on, lock it, and then allow for your dish to cook for the remainder of the time. Fast forward an hour or two and ta-da! We're all done. Look at how gorgeous that meat is. I'm super excited for this. Remove your brisket from your crock pot. Let it cool for about 5 minutes before slicing. We don't want all the juices and whatnot to run out. And then slice. Add a bit of your, we'll call it a soup, the little mixture in your crock pot. Add that to your bowl first. And then we'll top it off with a little bit of our schmeat. Go ahead and put it on there. And then we'll finish it off with the remaining broth from our crock pot. It's like you got a little soup there, right? For garnish, I encourage you to just finish with a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of butter. I think that adds some savoriness and some comfort to the dish. And then, if you're super bougie like me, add in either some Dijon mustard or some horseradish. I think those flavors really just add a pop of flavor and work very, very well with the creation that we have here. Then serve.